Welcome to Thirsty Thursday. We are talking about stock photos today, and I feel like this is a super important topic because approximately 30 people a week ask me about this stuff. So we are talking about how to get a website that looks really nice and really pretty if you don't have fancy, expensive photos to show on your site yet. So if you are here, say hi. Let me know that you're here, and I'm going to get everything pulled up so I can actually see comments because that's always super helpful. So yes, always say hi. Always let me know that you're here. Let me know if you're watching the replay. But this is like a freaking gold topic for DIYers. So if you're trying to DIY your website and you want it to not look like shit, you want it to look like it's professional and high end, but you don't have money to go pay for a fancy photo shoot yet. That's what we're talking about today. So I want to share with you 4 different options that I use with my clients. There's probably more out there, but these are the 4 different things I do if I get a client that doesn't have any fancy photos yet and they don't have the budget to take them. So share my screen. Again, say hi when you're here. I see some eyeballs and no one has said hi to me yet, so I'm going to pout. Desiree, yay, thank you. Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen because that's the easiest way to talk about this stuff and show you some of my favorite ways to handle this so that it still looks fancy and high-end, okay? So share screen, share, not the whole screen. I just want this one. Okay, that's easier. Cool. So can somebody comment and let me know if you can see this for sure? Hey, Heather. Hey, Tammy. Hopefully everyone can see it. We gotta wait because Facebook's freaking slow. So I don't have booze today for Thirsty Thursday. I'm not in the mood. That's my only excuse. So, okay. I can see it now. So hopefully everyone else can see it now. Well, let's move on. Okay, good. Thank you, Tammy. So this is my absolute favorite way to handle not having pictures. So this is actually part of my website course, website in a week. So you guys are getting like a behind the scenes look at all the stuff that's included in my course. But this is the way that I recommend you handle it if you don't have fancy pictures. So what this looks like is you can do this on a home page, an about page, any freaking page on your website, a landing page, whatever you want. But the way that works best and the way that still shows your personality is still to have a picture of yourself on there. So even if you don't have fancy photos, that's totally okay. Pick a photo. Surely you have a photo of your head somewhere on your Facebook page or somewhere else. But if you came to this training to like find a cop out, to find a way to not have to show your face on your website, you're in the wrong place because I want you to show your face on your website. This is so freaking powerful. It makes such a huge difference. So again, disclaimer, if you are trying to avoid showing your face on your website, that's not going to happen in this training. I still want you to show it. All of these options that I'm giving you still involve putting your head on your website somewhere. So that being said, this is the best way that I like to handle it because most people have some kind of picture like I said, as your profile picture or your LinkedIn picture or something where you don't look like a total goof, right? Like we don't want anything like super crazy unless that's your brand. Like my pictures say all kinds of crazy, have me doing crazy things, but something that is a good picture of yourself and something that's high quality enough that it's not going to look fuzzy and crappy. So it doesn't matter what it is. This is just a random stock person from Unsplash, I think. But I love how this is layered onto a stock photo. So that's going to be the best way to handle it, in my opinion, is if your buy website in a week, or if your website theme lets you do something like this, where you can kind of layer them on top of each other so that it doesn't look like, stop it, dog, so that it doesn't look like you're just stuck there. It looks like it's part of the design. It still feels cohesive and it still feels high-end. So you can find any kind of stock photo that you feel like is in alignment with your brand. You can see this is just a random picture of a coffee cup in a journal. Like, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. I think that's something that trips a lot of people up when they're looking for stock photos, is they think it has to be like this perfect, amazing picture that captures their entire brand, when in reality, like, stock photos are stock photos. It's really hard to do that. That's why people pay professional photographers, right? So I don't want you to overthink this part, because you can see that just this random coffee picture out here creates the feel that I want it to feel. And this particular example has this diagonal overlay over it so that you can read the text better. That's totally optional too. There are so many different things that you can do here. I just want to give you some ideas about what is possible, and every single one of these looks so good, even if you don't have fancy pictures, right? So you can do an overlay like this just to add another design element so that it still looks pretty, or you can do, like, there's another example, the diagonal is going this way this time, and it's just a header image, right? You could put the picture right here, or you could just leave it like this and put a picture of yourself further down the page. Or like this example is the one I was looking for, where it's just the overlay over the entire thing, and then you would put a picture of yourself further down. So like I said, you guys are getting like behind the scenes look of different options available in my template. But another option is you can do a freebie like this, but I want you to notice this is the only one right here that even has a picture, and it's not a fancy picture, right? All of these options are using stock photos, and they all look really pretty and really nice. So I want you to find something that feels like your brand, something that just has the right feel, and layer it with a regular picture of yourself. I promise you have one. If you don't, grab your phone, put it on a stand, because like selfies are a little cheesy. Some people are like huge advocates for putting selfies on your website. I'm not one of them. It feels a little cheesy to me. But if you have like a little stand, or ask somebody to just take a picture of you, you can easily get a picture of yourself completely free to put somewhere like this. But I definitely want to see a picture of your face somewhere on this website, especially your about page. If nowhere else, put it on your about page. Okay, so yeah, I think that's the rest of the options there. So that's option 1. Layer a stock photo with a regular photo of your head or your entire body. I don't care, as long as you can see your face on it. Cool? Who else is here? Jasmine and Tamara. Hi, so glad you're here. And let me know if you have any questions about this stuff as you go through. I'm also going to show you some stock photo sites that I like at the end, but let me know if you have any questions as we're going through this stuff. So that was option 1. Option 2. My mouse is disconnecting itself. Fun. Option 2 is going to involve a little bit more work. Options 2 and 3 involve a little bit more work, or paying somebody super cheap. So option 2, I'm going to recommend that you get a photo of yourself. It can be like the same one that you would put here. A photo of yourself that you can have somebody who's good at Photoshop like expand the background, or put like a gradient over it. So what I mean when I say that is, like, a perfect example is one of my clients, Christy. She built this inside website in a week. She built this herself. She didn't have professional photos done yet. She still doesn't. So she had this photo of herself, and she just had it expanded over so that there's a black background over here, and there's still room to put copy on it and to like showcase her face on the rest of her site. So you can see she's using stock photos in the background here, and then she puts them in with her regular pictures as well. So these are pictures that she just already had, that she like took herself. I think there's some on her about page too. Yeah. So like, see how you can expand them and how you can use what you have to your advantage, right? So this is the second one I recommend. Again, either you'll have to have somebody like Fiverr or Upwork or something like that if you don't know any designers that can do this, or if you do know a designer, this is something that should be really cheap. Otherwise, they're probably kind of screwing you over. So just expanding this background. Sometimes too, your website template will let you do this. So these are all built, I think all of them are. These are all built on Divi. And it lets you add, just like this example over here, it lets you add these overlays. You can do it where it's not a hard line like that, where it'll just make it blend in. You can do that as well, depending on what kind of website you use. So this is option 2. This is another really powerful way to put your face on there. And it looks blended, it looks cohesive, it looks so good. I love Christy's website. Okay, so that's option 2. Option 3 is to do a little bit more Photoshop work. This is probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but on Fiverr or Upwork or something, you can take a picture and cut yourself out. Like if you did, this is a good option for, let's say, if you did have a fancy photo shoot, like Megan one of my clients here, Megan, did have fancy pictures. Like, she looks really nice, but she didn't have a lot of options where she was on one side where we could still put text. So we cut her out and then layered her on top of another background. This is still another option. This isn't obviously my favorite. I would love to just have all the pictures that are taken for your website, but that's not always the case, right? So this is another option. This is going to cost a little bit more because it will take a designer or somebody more time to actually cut you out in Photoshop, especially if you want to look good, because a lot of times you see people cut out and they look like dog shit. So this is something that's important. If you're going to do this option, make sure you find somebody who actually knows how to work Photoshop so you're not all jaggedy and your hair is like a big clump. You know what I'm talking about? I wish I had a shitty example to show you. But if you're going to do this option, please, please, please make sure you pick a good designer. So that's option 3. Let's recap here. Option 1, this is my favorite option. Choose a picture. It doesn't involve any money spent or any Photoshop. Choose a picture you already have and layer it on top. Option 2, extend your picture, whether with a gradient on top of it, or you can do it pay somebody to just extend it for you. Option 3, cut yourself out, put yourself on another background. Option 4, this option works for companies that are like companies and not just one person, or even if you are just one person but you're more like an agency or more like less personal branding. So this is one of my clients, Allison, and her business is more like a business. It's a continuing education company for like industrial people, not really our online business world that we're in. So this does feel very business-like and professional and upscale and gives that different feel. But if you scroll down, it still has a picture of her, right? I'm never, ever, ever going to recommend not having pictures of yourself on your website. So it still has a picture of Allison because we still want to have that personal connection. But up here, again, this is a stock photo. This is from Unsplash. Every single picture on her website, every stock photo, this one included on her homepage, is from Unsplash. So is this one. Literally all of them are free stock photos, and you can see how this still looks and feels really high-end. It's about creating a feel. So this right here, like these plants, literally have nothing to do with her business, right? But it has to do with who she is as a person and the feel that she's trying to create. So that's the next thing I want to talk about. These are the different options here, but I want to talk about how you can actually find stock photos that align with your brand, because so many people get stuck looking for like a certain look and feel and like I want a picture of a plant, or I want a picture of a desk that says blah, 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 when it's so much more powerful and so much more beneficial to look for photos that just have the right feel, even if they're not completely, like, they don't have to be aligned with your mission. Like I said, this is a picture of a plant, but it sends the right message. It sends like the message that we're open and we're friendly and we're not like stuffy, you know, and there's like a little bit of fun in here. So it's about choosing feel. So these are the stock photo sites I like. I'm going to share, this one's free. This is the one I use 95% of the time. I do have some options for paid ones that if you want to pay for stock photos, these are the ones that I like. But Unsplash. So you can search for so many things in Unsplash. These are all completely free and they're high quality pictures. So a lot of the downside to this one is that a lot of people use this site. So they're like, most likely people will already be using some of these pictures. But if you can use them in different unique ways, you know, then it's totally fine. So like this is a cool picture that you could do like as a background section, like in this example I gave you, something up here where it's not like of anything, but it creates a feel. It has this gold and this black, and it feels very classy and very high end. So you can search for specific things like this, but I also want you to like not be scared to search for other things on these websites too. Like search random words, like search something that feels a certain way, like cozy, or my keyboard is disconnected, cozy, and see what comes up. Like don't limit yourself to just business things or health and fitness things or whatever industry you're in, because they're going to be very limited on stock photo sites, especially on free ones. So instead, search the feel that you want. Type that into the box, and that's going to get you so much further. Look at all these. They all feel so cozy. And there's so many different options here too. Like, I'm going to call back to our brand archetypes, because that's how most of you know who I am, right? You have your brand archetype. You can scroll through these and get a feel for the different archetypes. Like, cozy is a word that aligns with like the caregiver or the lover, or sometimes even the regular girl next door one. But like this one, I would put this even like on a sage archetype website. This one feels very sagey here too. This one's funny. This could go on like a performer archetype page, but they all have this same feel. Is this making sense? Like, tell me like what you usually search for, and hopefully this is gonna, like, this seriously blows people's minds when I teach this stuff and when I tell clients to like look for something based on feel. That is going to get you so much further, okay? Dee, hi, Desiree says, or you could find a local photographer who understands brand photography. Absolutely, Desiree. Desiree is my photographer, or one of the photographers in here. That's so true. So this training is like for the people who aren't quite there yet, when they can't afford it yet. But I am going to go into some tips at the end for once you are ready to hire a photographer, things you can do that'll make it even better. So stick around, Desiree. But absolutely, if you can afford it, do it. Like, if you can afford pictures, absolutely get pictures. And even if you can do like a small photo shoot, like not a whole entire package, but just get like 2 or 3 pictures for your website and for your social media covers or something like that. That can be really powerful. Okay. Tammy says, I get it. I usually look for specific items. Yes, most people do. So look for words, look for feel. And a great resource for this too is like when you took my brand archetype quiz, you get a PDF, right? And there's a ton of words in there. Like there's an entire page that are just adjectives that describe that word. It's on the pages themselves too. Like if we go to caregiver archetype, let's see if mine even comes up in my search results here. All of my archetype pages are on my website. There's even more words inside the actual PDFs, like I said, but page loading. Okay. So if we scroll down, these words right here, like helpful. I know that sounds really weird to type into a stock photo site, but type in helpful or parent or like you'll get those really like lovey, nurturing pictures with this. Empathy, like words that you would not think to type into a stock photo site, especially on the good stock photo sites. I will say this doesn't usually work on like little small stock photo sites because they don't have the resources to hire people to put good tags on them. So make sure you're like Unsplash, this works amazingly well for, but make sure it's like a big one. If you're trying this method, this will get you such good pictures that have the feel that you want. Okay. Ethereal, that's a good word. Yes. Awesome. I searched fun and those pics are pretty cool. Yeah. Yes. So there's all kinds of stuff. Think outside the box, okay? Think about the message that you want to send and what you want people to feel when they look at your website. Type that into the stock photo site. So like I said, Unsplash, that's the one I use 90% of the time because they're totally free. If you want better pictures, if you want stuff that's a little bit nicer, better quality towards your brand, you know, these are the 2 that I recommend. So Styled Stock Society, it's a membership, and they are very good at creating images for different industries. They have like health and fitness, and they have like girl boss type stuff, and they're a very, you know, like they're like the Instagram type pictures that you see, the very clean, classy look, but it's free. There's so many freaking good ones in here, and it's not that expensive compared to other stock photo sites. So it's $75 a quarter or $25 a month. So there's lots of stock, like Shutterstock and stuff like that is like stupid expensive. But these are very targeted for online business industries. So this one is really cool. StyledStockSociety.com. And then Hotstock, Haute. Hotstock also is another really good one that works kind of the same way. These are less like girl bossy and more, like they have more options other than like if you're not the pink person or the typical Instagram person, but they have so many different options too. Again, these are not free either, but the value that you get for these type of photos is amazing. So if you're looking to like have a ton of stock photos, like if you're going to use them on Instagram and other places besides your website, that's when I would look at something like this. If you're only putting them on your website, you can get away with the free stuff all day long. You can get away with the free stuff anyway, but if you want to like have a library of stock images that have a certain feel, that's when I would look into these things, okay? Because we do want to create this cohesive experience so that if someone finds us on Instagram and we have this type of photo there, we want them to like land on our website and get the same feel, right? So it's important that we're consistent across all of our platforms so that we're, you know, attracting the right person and they're getting, people say vibe, I don't like that word, but like people are getting the feel, right? They're getting to know what to expect from us. So these are two that I really like. And that one is .co and styledstocksociety.com. So let me know if you have any questions. I've given you those 4 options for what to, how to lay out your site. And if you missed those at the beginning, you can go back and watch the replay. I've also shown you stock photo sites that work really well. The last thing I want to talk about is once you are ready to get fancy pictures for your website, I want to show you the things that helped me so much, because while my photographer is freaking amazing, I love her, Tana, she's done a Spotlight Sunday for us a long time ago even, that talked about like what to wear on a photo shoot, if you want to go look that up in the files tab. But even Tana, even though she's an amazing photographer, brand photography is not her first, like she does families and babies and all kinds of other stuff. So unless you're hiring a brand specific photographer, which I highly recommend if there's one in your area, I don't have a huge selection of those in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Tana's awesome. So we work together to create this, but either hire a brand photographer or you need to have like really freaking clear expectations and guidelines and communicate those really well when you go in. So the last thing I want to show you is just my website real quick. I want to show you what to think about and how you're going to use these pictures. So the important thing you want to get for website images is that you want to be able to put text on them. This is also important for if you're running Facebook ads or if you have a cover photo in your Facebook group and you want to be able to put text on it. They need to know to leave space like this over on the side. So you can see there's another one over here. There's one on every single page of my website. Like you can click every single page and there's a different picture at the top, but they all have space. They all have space for me to write something here to get the message across, because that's the most important part. The photos are there to enhance your message, just like your website. Your website is not there to look pretty. Your website is there to enhance the message that you're trying to send, right? So we don't want to take away from it. We want to add to it, and we need to have the space to do that. So like I said, every single one of my pages on my website are like that. That doesn't mean, though, that you only want to get those. Like, you want to have a balance. So think about headers for your websites, and then think about where else you're going to use them too. So I showed you, like, Allison's website down here. What was that? Her about page, where she had the picture of herself. Tana actually took this one too. This picture down here. Think about how you're going to use them. It's really, really important before you go into a photo shoot that you know where and how you're going to use these images. So, like I've talked about header images, you want to have space. You also want to have them, like, I use them on Instagram too, right? So like if we look at my Instagram, you can see like that's that same picture. It's just cropped differently. So we need to make sure not just we are clear on how we're going to use these, but also that our photographer is really clear on how we're going to use them, because they can take photos so that we can crop them differently for different things. So we just saw this photo right here is the same one that's on my homepage. It's just cropped differently. So think about this in advance. Are you using them on Instagram? Or do you not do Instagram and this doesn't matter? Are you using them on your website? Are you using them to run ads? Have a list of everywhere you're going to put them and what format they need to be in to make that work, okay? And then the second part of it is and this really comes in if you're working with a photographer who is not a brand photographer by nature. Go do research, okay? Like, my goofy photos here are so much more fun and so different than the first photo shoot I did with Tana. And that is 100% my doing, not Tana's. Like, these are good. This is from the first photo shoot if you scroll down on my Instagram. And these are good. These are still so fun. I use the crap out of them, right? But this part of the photo shoot was the best part. So I walked around with Tana. We walked around. We took a whole bunch of different pictures. At the very end, she was like, "Is there anything else you want me to do?" And I was like, "Can I just stand in front of this wall and make a whole bunch of goofy faces and point at things?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it ended up being that these are the photos that I use 90% of the time. These right here that I'm pointing to, these 3, they're the ones that I use almost everywhere. Whereas this is a really nice picture, right? It looks really good. But it doesn't capture that like fun personality side that I like in my pictures now. And again, that's nothing to do with Tana. That has to do with me not communicating that clearly. So the second time I took pictures, the ones that are all over my website, I was much more clear. So what you can do is go through and stalk people that you like. Like, if you like my pictures, or if you like, you know, your favorite influencer to follow, their style of pictures, create an album. Like, I made a collection on Instagram and saved stuff, not just for the style, like like if there's filters or coloring, or like, you know what I'm talking about, certain Lightroom presets that certain photographers use that make them look a certain way. Do that, but also for poses. I had a huge library of these like fun, goofy poses and different stuff I could do that wasn't necessarily Tana's like default way of posing people for family photos, right? So this is especially important for those situations when you don't have a brand photographer. But yeah, it's so cool if you can do it. And like I said, if you can work with a photographer to just get a couple to get you started for your website, that can go a long way when you are ready. But I don't want you to go book a photographer without thinking about this stuff in advance, because you'll end up with a whole bunch of really pretty photos that you can't use on your website, right? So this is really important stuff, and I don't want you to waste any of your money. So be where you are right now. I've given you 4 awesome different ways that you can use photos that you already have, or you can set up a little tripod or lean your phone on the bookcase and take a picture of yourself and do it with stock photos. You have no excuses for not putting your face on your website right freaking now. Plenty of awesome stock resources, 4 different, all totally gorgeous options for how to do it. And then once you are ready, excuse me, I have the hiccups. Now you like have a guideline to go by. Cool? So let me know if you have any other questions. I'm going to quit sharing my screen. I saw a couple things come in. I am back. I'm huge. I saw a couple things come in. Now's the time for questions though. Cool? Jasmine, any chance we can chat about approaching other people for their own photos? I know a lot of Instagrammers who show their semi-visible disability. Yeah, I think that's totally cool. If you're going to share somebody else's photo on your website or Instagram or anywhere else, always get permission. So like on my archetype result pages, I just showed you guys the caregiver page. There's a section like Instagram pages that the caregiver would like to follow. And it's like that on all of them. I reached out to them. I said, is it okay if I put your picture on my website and link it back to your Instagram? So you always want to get permission if you're sharing other people's stuff. That's why I like using like Unsplash and those, or paying for stock photos, because then you just don't even have to worry about that and don't even have to think about it. But if you are going to do that, absolutely ask permission, okay? Always. Don't take anyone else's work. Desiree, I love that your photos are all over your website. They're so fun, right? I have a detailed consultation with your photographer and go in with a shoot list. Yes, exactly. So Tana and I did this too. We went and drank beer. We sat at the bar and drank beer, and we came up with a list of places to go, and I walked her through my list. So I had, like I said, the Instagram collection. I also had a Pinterest board with a whole bunch of different stuff, but I didn't just dump it on her. I didn't just say, here's what I like. We went through it together, and it was like, I like this pose, and oh, ignore this one. I just like the outfit that she's wearing. I don't really want a picture like that. Like, it's really important to have really open communication with a photographer, for sure. Okay. I had that problem. I paid someone, and she said she couldn't use my pic because my shoulder was cut off. Yeah, that happens a lot. So we have to have these really clear guidelines of what we're going to, hopefully, Didi, hopefully you could use it somewhere else, but not for the website. And there's a really, like, I want to go back to option 2 and option 3 real quick and say that if you're going to have somebody do Photoshop work as a designer from age 10, I want you to know Photoshop is not magic, okay? Photoshop is not magic. Photoshop can enhance things that are already there. It cannot fabricate something out of nothing. So if you give me a picture with your shoulder cut off, I can't just magically make you a new shoulder. I can do some stuff, like I could copy your other shoulder and flip it and make it look normal. That's going to take a shit ton of time, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to pay someone to do that. It's much easier to just use a different picture and have a plan when you go into it. So please remember that if you use either of those options. Photoshop is not magic, okay? It's not magic. It is a really cool tool that can do amazing things, but it cannot fabricate something out of nothing. You have to have a basis to work with, okay? Yes. Always get permission. Yes, yes, yes. I'm about to get stalkery. Yes, get stalkery. I stalked everybody that I loved the feel of their photos, and I saved them like crazy. How do you get permission on Facebook to share photos? You can just message, like DM or message the person. The gray area here is like those little pictures that are like quotes, you know, that everybody shares. They're made to be shared. I don't usually do that. I don't usually ask permission for something like that. I'm mostly talking about if you're publishing something on your website. That's kind of my area. If you share something on Facebook, just share it. So don't ever like screenshot something and cut off the other person's name and make it look like your own. Don't do that. But I'm mostly just talking about your website. Like, don't put other people's pictures on your website without asking. But there is stuff involved in social media too. Just if you're sharing, give credit. The certain things, there's not a definitive yes or no that I can tell you. You should always ask for permission, because sometimes it really doesn't matter and it's made to be shared, right? So just kind of common sense, use your best judgment, you know? But if you're sharing something, just share it. Don't screenshot it and then crop someone else's name off. That's rude. That's rude. I'll just say that. The photographer has the copyright, not the subject. Yes. Well, it depends on your photographer. Like, I have the copyright for my pictures because that was in our deal. Like, Tana can also use them in her marketing materials if she wants to. I think that's different for different photographers. The photographer usually always retains the right, and you have to get, like, if you want to go, I remember like my wedding pictures, that was not part of our contract, and I had to get like written permission from him to go print them at Walgreens, which honestly pissed me off because that's just silly. But that's definitely something that you want to talk to your photographer about before. Like, are you going to have permission to use these wherever you want? And if you aren't, maybe talk about that because you want to be able to do whatever you want with them, right? Tammy, make sure if you have a photographer, get all the photos from the shoot, even if the photographer doesn't like them. That's another thing too that photographers sometimes are picky about. So most photographers will give you a package with X amount of pictures, and they don't like to give you the raw photos. Like, I actually got that from my wedding photographer. I just said, give me everything. I'm a designer. I know I'll edit them how I want them. And I got more photos, and it was cheaper. Like, it was cheaper than having, 100 pictures that they edited, right? But as a photographer, I understand why you don't want to do that, because let's say Tana gives me unedited photos, I make it look like dog shit and go post it everywhere. Everyone's going to think Tana did it, right? Like, the photographer doesn't want to give you creative control. So if you find a photographer that will let you do that and you know what you're doing, by all means do it. But most photographers aren't going to let you do that. I'll just say that. And that's to protect their brand and their image. And, knowing a lot of photographers, my sister's a photographer too. Like, I totally understand that and I can respect that. But you do want to find a photographer that will give you, like, that will respect and like work with you. Like, maybe you don't need, like, one of the things, like I said, with Tana, she mostly does baby stuff, babies and family. So her basic packages were like, you get like 10 pictures and rights to print them as much as you want. You could get like 2 8x10s and like a bunch of different printed stuff. I was like, dude, I don't need that. I'm not printing this shit out to put it on my wall or carry it in my wallet. I don't need pictures of me. But so we like rearranged it, and it was like, I got a lot more pictures, but I don't need to print them. They're just for social media use, right? So it's less work for her, less editing involved, because it's not going to be blown up huge. So just talk to your photographer. Just have open communication if you're gonna do it that way. And most of them will like work with you to get whatever you need, right? No photographer wants to take pictures that you don't like and you're not going to use, right? So just talk, have open communication. Okay, when you use Unsplash photos, do you put the credits below it? I don't. You don't have to on Unsplash. They tell you whose it is, and if you want to, you can, but it's not required from Unsplash. Some other photo sites, it is. Like, definitely read, like if you're using stock photos, read their terms when you download it, because even if it's a free site, sometimes it will still say credit required, and it'll say that on there. Like, they don't try to hide it or anything, but definitely look at that. But Unsplash is not one of those. That's the reason I use it, because I don't want to have to worry about doing that. What if I use pics for posts is all? I just find some on Facebook. Then I would. Dee Dee, I would ask for permission if you're putting them on like on a blog post. If it's a Facebook post, again, that's kind of a gray area. Just to be safe, honestly, I would just go on Unsplash or one of the, like, I don't even want to have to think about possibly getting sued by somebody for taking a silly picture. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just not worth that time and energy of not only worrying about it and the time and energy but just like dealing with going to ask for permission. I just like, that's why I like the stock photo sites. In my opinion, that's the best way to go. But if you do use it, especially if you're going to put it on your website, just ask for credit. Yes. Photographer gives use of rights to the client. Yes. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, that is it for Thirsty Thursday. Hopefully, I am going to see some amazing about pages shared in the website or in the Facebook group today after you get your website all knocked out and looking awesome. So thank you all for coming to Thirsty Thursday. I will talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.